Oh, Liam Manning is with us. Liam, just explain where your emotions are, not just after the win, but after the last 15, 20 minutes of that game.
I'm exhausted, to be totally honest. It was, I feel the same emotion as everybody else watching it. It was, coming here is such a difficult place to come. So you only have to look at their form here last season, and that plus the fact they're quite a consistent side. They haven't changed a huge amount. It's going to be a difficult place, but I thought we really stood up to a tough test today. We showed a different way of winning, a real resilience, a real togetherness, a fighting spirit, which I think across such a marathon of a championship season, when you're not quite at it, that's going to allow us to be in games and allow us to improve. And I think there's some real big positives to take away from today.
We'll focus on the last 15 minutes in a moment, but the first 15 minutes, you were 2-0 up by that point. What a start that was.
Yeah, and off set pieces, right? I think we know how important that is. So credit to Nick, credit to the lads for taking it on board. Harry and his long throw, which was we found out about this week, to be fair. So delighted for him to get off the mark. But yeah, it was one of those. I thought we actually started the game really well, even how we managed it by showing an element of composure to play such a tight pitch, and they do a really good job of blocking central and making it difficult for you. But I thought we showed some really good quality, and then when you then go 2-0 up and you've got something to protect, naturally, I thought a little bit probably fearful at times to play and to trust each other, which that will only grow the more we have experiences like today. There were so many positives to take out of it.
Tell me a bit more about the Harry Darling long throw-in then, because we hadn't seen it over the first couple of games of the season, and I think we might have just found out why. How did you find out about it?
We were, as is often the case with Harry, I think he was messing around at the end of training. We watched him against Oxford, to be fair, and thought it was an area that we could cause problems on. It then comes down to, have you got anyone that can do it? So saw him launch one the other day and thought, we'll set that up, we'll use it. So credit to the lads for still there's a lot that goes into set pieces that not everybody will see around the blocks, the timing of movements, the connection piece, and it was a really enjoyable goal.
Yeah, and he got the first one as well from a set piece, and I think earlier in his career with MK Dons, he got into double figures one season for goals, didn't he? So that just shows
I was there. Yeah.
Well, there you go. That shows what he can do.
Yeah, and huge that when he goes from everywhere. And even around the set pieces, I actually thought didn't always control the game by keeping the ball and progressing. With lots of passes, but I thought we carried such a threat, especially first half. They're so expansive. It's difficult then not when you regain it to just attack for goal, which I thought we caused a real threat, caused them real problems on the counter. It's then that not making it a basketball game, which we did at times, and always difficult when the space is there to go and attack, to sometimes manage the game and go, right, let's keep it, let's rest with the ball a little bit. And I thought we did that actually well second half at times, especially early on, in terms of taking the sting out of it, quieting the place down a little bit. It was some good elements.
You mentioned how exhausting the last 15 minutes were. The ball hit your crossbar, you gave away a goal, a penalty save as well. What do you think you could have done differently as a team just to calm things down in the closing stages?
I also think you have to be realistic. You come to a place like this with the noise, the atmosphere, like I said, you don't really appreciate how tight the pitch is, I think, until you're on it. I think you also have to accept sometimes there's going to be passages where you're up against it. You've got two teams going toe to toe. You're never going to be able to dominate start to finish. So it's almost, what does it look like in those moments, and how do you shift the momentum back in our favour? And there were some good moments where we did it, winning free kicks or slowing things down a little bit. In an ideal world, we'd keep the ball in their half of the pitch and kind of manage that way. But we're at the start of the journey. When you look at the week already, we've had 3 fantastic experiences that are really important for us to use, to learn, to get better as a group.
And the Nunez injury, clearly you gave him every chance at the start of the second half to show that he was okay. But does that look like a problem?
Yeah, to the point where he came off, to be honest, I've straight in, speak to the lads and come straight out. So we'll have to assess. We'll see the extent of it. There was a little bit of swelling at half time, but he wanted to try it and wanted to push. So it was a little bit unfortunate and challenging having to use that moment so early on in the second half. But we'll have to assess and see how he is.
You've got a full week on the training pitch now. Is that something you welcome?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially where we're at, it's such a full-on week with the 3 games. I think now being able to kind of take some of the bits where like I said, I thought some of the defending was excellent. In terms of the distances, the duels, the second balls. There's so much that we know we've got to do. like I said, is how do we keep chipping away at wins and picking up results as we grow? Because across the course of the season, I don't doubt we'll improve because of I believe in the work we do and the lads' attitude to really grasp it. So yeah, and I'm delighted for the lads today because as frustrating as last week was, I think I said to you guys afterwards, I think you win 3-4 of those, you lose 3-4, and you draw the same. I think so. To be on the other end of it today is a real positive.
Good win today, well done. Thank you.
What was your thoughts when 10 minutes went up on the board?
I was delighted. No, it was, especially as we had a tough period. I think where didn't get too many fouls and we were up against it a little bit. Never really got that break in play. So yeah, draining, tiring, but we got there.
What does it do now you've come through it and successfully the other side in terms of these building blocks you've talked about? It's a process, but you need to fast track it. Going through those experiences has got to help that.
Definitely, and we should never. Of course, we'll always chase perfection. We'll always chase how do we, what do we want to look like? What does the performance look like? But it takes time to get there. I think we're changing. Probably more than people realise. I think behind the scenes in, culturally aspects, playing, the way we want to play, what we're asking the lads to do. That's why I quite enjoyed some of the attacking elements. I thought it probably. You want the shackles off, but at the same point, as coaches from the side, we want elements of control as well. So it's finding that balance. But yeah, it's another experience which is only going to stand the group in good stead.
Talking about experiences, particularly for you lads who've come in this summer, how big could that be for Vladan Kovacevic today? Not only the penalty save, but there was a 1-0, the back post, the save he makes there, and then you score within a minute. Big keepers step up in big moments.
Yeah, and also I think some of the moments, coming and claiming some of the high balls off set pieces or deep crosses, I think it just not a lot gets made on momentum in football, and those moments shift it massively in your favour. You go from, their fans being as loud as they are here to him taking a catch, and it just quietens it down and gives everybody a bit of a breathing space. So it's massive in terms of his performance today. He did really well.
So that aerial work, was that something just coming off the back of Millwall, who did test him in those areas and balls flying into his box? In this league, in this country, as a keeper, you're going to have to come and be dominant because you're going to get put under aerial pressure.
Yeah, Tony, to be fair, Tony works with him, been big on it since we've come in day one. He's really pushed that, and we've tried to integrate certain aspects into training where how does he control the spaces in behind the back line, what does that look like, can we get him being aggressive? I actually don't think you see too many keepers come and do it too often now. I think it's something that because of the speed of deliveries and the type of deliveries, they tend to kind of stay in a six-yard box quite often. So the fact that he's brave enough and aggressive enough to come and do it is huge, and like I said, it gives confidence to the back line. It gives them that respite, knowing that he's going to come and take things that are over them.
And you look at it, to take a step back, you've had 2 tough away games, Cup and League now in the last few days. You've come away with 2 wins, and in both games, you've shown elements of what you can do with the ball, but also without. I mean, as a coach, how pleasing is that for you when you go back and debrief it all this past 4 or 5 days?
It's obviously a lot nicer to do it off the back of a win. No excuses off of that. I think we want it to look great and win perfectly, right? I think that's probably where we're at, where the world's at. But I think in terms of what. I always think, what do you look like on a day when you're not quite at your best? And if you see what we showed there, and I've said from day one for the fans as well, the bare minimum the fans should expect is to turn up and see the lads run and fight and compete and put everything on the line to defend the box like they did. And those behaviours for me, we've really pushed hard, I think, since we've come in. Sometimes at the expense of what we want it to look like with the ball. I think that will only grow and progress over time and get better. But I think when you look at it, the way we blocked at times, how we pressed, the way we defended the box, the connection, the togetherness, that cultural aspect which you could see on the pitch today, they're things that we've pushed really hard. And like I say, as much as I'd love to be able to crack everything and have it all perfect within being what we've been in now 7-8 weeks, being realistic, I know it's a process that takes time.
So I want to ask you about Emi Marcondes, because he's gone from not in your 20 last weekend and now he started these last 2 games. Is that just an example of a player who, if you see what you're seeing from them week in, week out, day in, day out at Colney, you can swiftly find yourself back in, and not just in, but actually in and starting games?
Yeah, Emi didn't miss out on performance last week. It was more his heel was a little bit sore, and it was one of those where kind of half knew we were going to look at him on Tuesday, so we had a chat, and to give him the best opportunity for Tuesday was, right, let's leave him on the Saturday. So, and then again, I thought his performance was excellent on Tuesday. It was really had a really, really good impact. So, he deserved the opportunity today. And he's one that carries little bits that we have to manage, but yeah, for all the lads, for the whole group, it's the hardest bit, kind of parking your own individual goals, at the expense of the team. Kellum was excellent the other night, but needed him to come on and have a real positive impact today. The same as some of the other lads. Jacob, disappointed not to start, but comes on and does exactly what the team needs. So it's not easy doing that across the course of a season. Obviously, my job as best I can. It's not always easy, is to try and keep players focused on the team and understand that it's much bigger than any one of us.
Just on a final one, and probably in the context of what you just said there, Liam, is that Jurasek just cleared that up again today? Is that just part of that process? No fitness-related issue. He's just not quite there in terms of your thoughts for the 20.
Yeah, and it's a tough one on Mate, to be fair, because his level in training, especially the last few days, was really picked up. As much as I'd love to pick everybody, because it would make my life 10 times easier, I can't. So he's very much in our plans and in our thoughts. He's just someone that we're pushing. You also have to understand that he missed a large period of time. So the level that we'd all love him to come back at, and it becomes quite difficult. So he's pushing hard. He's worked really hard today. He's someone. He's got some attributes I really like. He's very much part of it, and we'll keep pushing him. And at the right time, you'll see him.
Well done, mate. Cheers.